Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 16 of the Yellow Card Podcast, brought to you by Couch Guys Sports. As always, Andrew Fasciano. And on this episode, we have an uncontrollable Chris Jones, who I have no idea what is going on with him.
If you just heard what Diego said off camera, you would be dying laughing too. I don't want to hear it, all right? I don't want to hear it, not even a little bit. I'm over here crying. Excuse me.
Oh, my God. Poor guy. Anyways, so a lot of things going on in the soccer world this week, and it is impossible to define like the typical three subjects for us that we will be speaking about. But because there is so much going on, we're going to get things fired off immediately. So this week, we had some major awards going on. To begin with the fact that the U.S. Soccer Player of the Year award happened this week. And there's also a phenomenal U.S. men's national soccer team developing for Qatar 2022. And if you are not following, you best be prepared for the U.S. men's national soccer team to dominate Qatar 2022. So if we've been having issues in the Middle East between the U.S. and the Middle East, the U.S. is coming to dominate. I just hope everybody is prepared. Andrew, talk to me about the U.S. Soccer Player of the Year, as well as your thoughts on U.S. men's national soccer team, and what do you expect for this team in Qatar 2022?
Yeah, so each year the U.S. Soccer Federation gives out year-end awards. Initially, I thought they were going to announce all of the awards on the same day. It seems that hasn't happened, but so far they've announced the Female and Male Player of the Year awards. So the Female Player of the Year went to Massachusetts' own Sam Mewis. So it's nice to see a hometown winner of that award. She had a great 2020, both with the national team and at the club level. With the national team, she played in 8 of the 9 games, and she was particularly good at the Olympic qualifying tournament, which was arguably probably the most important matches that the USMNT played this year, because obviously you got to qualify for the Olympics to win a gold medal. And she scored all 4 of her goals in that tournament. So she showed up big there. And then in August, she made a big move across the pond to Manchester City, where she became just the 3rd American to score in an FA Cup final when Man City won the FA Cup final 3-1 against Everton. So she's been great at the national level and at the club level. I think she's really developed into one of the best two-way midfielders in the world over the past 2 seasons. So it's great to see all her hard work recognized with this award, much deserved. And then in terms of the men's award, the winner was Weston McKennie, another
Juventus!
We might get something like that. He, of course, made the big loan move from Schalke to Juventus in August. I actually forgot that was a loan move. I thought that was a permanent deal. So it'll be interesting to see what happens at the end of the season. I'd imagine Chris can obviously elaborate on this more, but I'd imagine that based on how he's played, Juventus will want to do everything in their power.
Oh, they'll pay Schalke whatever they want.
Yeah. No,
especially when we give Apollo Dybala and company for Paul Pogba. Yeah, absolutely. They'll give him all they want.
Yeah, he's established himself as a key part of that midfield. He's another player who can do a little bit of everything in the midfield, like Sam Mewis. And of course, I'd say his highlight of the year was probably that goal that he scored against Barcelona in the Champions League. If you haven't seen it, look it up. It was just a phenomenal acrobatic finish on a cross from from Juan Cuadrado. It was a great goal, maybe the best goal scored by an American man this year.
Let's just say that Weston McKennie can now be nicknamed KFC, because with that finish, he was finger licking good.
Oh, we're not starting that. No, I'm not nicknaming him KFC. There's not a chance you will ever hear me ever compare him to KFC. Not once in my life would I do that. No.
All right, call him Popeyes.
No, let Andrew finish his discussion. Jeez, dude, coming up with these Brown Bowl type nicknames, dude. I can't believe it.
Just embracing it, Inner Jackson. That's all.
Yeah, so on Monday and Tuesday, on Monday, the Young Players of the Year will be announced. I would expect Gio Reyna to win the men's award.
100%.
And then on Tuesday, the player of the year with a disability will be announced. So keep your eyes peeled for those 3 additional awards that U.S. Soccer is giving out. Other North American soccer updates for the CONCACAF Champions League final is taking place Tuesday night. We have an MLS team representing the league. Since that competition switched to a Champions League format in 2008, an MLS team has never won, so it could be a very exciting first this year. And then, like Diego alluded to, we're starting to see the U.S. men's national team gearing up for the 2022 World Cup. Of course, the U.S. women's national team has a whole nother year because their World Cup takes place a year after, so they're not quite at the same stage of gearing up. But the men's national team is looking really exciting. We got to see two big games this year. I think part of why Weston McKennie won the male player of the year was because he was really, really good against Wales in the game that ended up being a 0-0 draw. He was also good in the game against Panama, I believe, that they won 6-2. I'll turn this over to you guys as well, but I certainly have never in my time following soccer seen an American men's national team with so much young talent. So if you're not already paying attention to the men's and women's national teams, you should hop on board right now because this is a really, really exciting time. I saw
September 2021. September
Exactly.
2021.
Yeah.
I saw a stat on Twitter the other day that in the past 7 days, the U.S. men under the age of 23 have received more minutes in Europe's top 5 leagues than Mexican players have in the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that really tells you all you need to know. There's a really exciting crop coming through right now.
So one of my questions that I come across now is you're developing this incredible young core that you're developing, right? You got Weston McKennie, Christian Pulisic, Giovanni Reina, Sergino Dest. I mean, the list goes on and on, right? But with this much talent, do you actually trust Greg Berhalter to be the soccer coach? Or do you go with a more prolific figure that can actually take this soccer team and run with it and bring them into at least a semifinal role in the World Cup to at least give this young core something to look for in the next World Cup?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's something that I've been wondering about too. I mean, I think Greg is pretty good at managing the players' personalities, which is especially important with a young team. But I think at the same time, there have been some questions about his tactics and what sort of system he actually wants to play. If I recall correctly, there was, I think in the Wales game, he kind of didn't really play a striker at all for most of the game, which seemed like an interesting decision. I guess the argument against that would be that they didn't really have like a true center forward in the squad for that match. But I don't know. I think it's definitely fair to wonder because obviously, considering that talented groups of players don't come along this often on the men's side for American soccer, the last thing you'd want to do is waste the talent when you get to the biggest stage. And the manager is obviously a huge part of that.
Yep, I definitely agree with that. I mean, when I think of like the next prolific figure for the U.S. men's national team, I'm thinking of somebody like, I don't know, the looks of like Tata Martino or even Colombian's head coach Carlos Queiroz. Like, he knows he's on his way out of the Colombian national team just because there's been a lot of controversy with his favoritism towards certain players. But with the U.S. men's national team, there is no such thing as favoritism because every single one of them is actually incredibly talented this year. There's no one that you can personally be like, yeah, Pulisic is my favorite. He's got to be the captain this year. Or be like, McKennie is going to be a guaranteed starting spot every single game. Like, they just all have such a diverse method of their goodness that they bring to the table. That's impossible to for me personally, it's impossible to pick a favorite for the U.S. men's national team. So I'm actually, like I've said before, and like I'll say it again, I'm extremely excited for the team. Again, just my question again is that who do you actually trust to manage this team? Because Greg Berhalter, like I said, he's a good coach, but this is a lot of talent, and you can't put it to waste. You just simply can't.
You know who I would love for them to have again would be Bruce Arena, but that's not going to happen. I'd love for them to get Bruce Arena back. Won't happen though, unfortunately.
It's a good name to bring up, but my concern with Bruce is the midfield game that the U.S. men's national team currently has right now is not. It's not in his realm of a picture because he's creative up front and he's creative in the back, but that midfield he's never had that creativity to develop. In my personal opinion, of course. I mean, some may disagree, some may agree, but personally for me, Bruce Arena could be the guy, but not quite the picture taker for the rest of the run to take with the U.S. men's national team.
I'll tell you the name that's most intriguing to me, which would be Jesse Marsch, who's currently managing RB Salzburg. Prior to that, he was with the New York Red Bulls in the MLS. It's not too often that you see an American head coach go over to Europe and have success. He's done a great job there. Obviously, Salzburg is kind of the big powerhouse in the Austrian league, but he's done a nice job of competing also in the Champions League against teams that you could argue Salzburg doesn't really have a right going toe-to-toe with. So that's been really encouraging. I've seen his name kind of thrown around with the Dortmund job, so who knows where he'll end up. But I think at some point in time, I would like to see him have a crack with this current generation of American players.
I have a name in mind that I've been thinking about a lot. And you guys may actually not agree with him, but just hear me out. Louis van Gaal. That's the name. Louis van Gaal. And the reason why I say that is because when Barcelona was struggling to develop a midfield game because they had a young Messi who was sitting in the bench and being underutilized, it was Louis van Gaal's idea to partner him with Andres Iniesta and develop him from there. That is the perfect case scenario for you to have right now when you have somebody of the talent of Christian Pulisic and somebody like Gio Reyna, who is following his footsteps. I mean, Pulisic played in Dortmund. Here's Reyna playing in Dortmund. What's Reyna's next step from there? He could be going
Premier League.
He could be Premier League, or he could easily just go, I don't know, Spanish League as well, and change his game up a little bit. I don't think he should do that because the Spanish League is such a slower pace playing league. He should continue to develop into that fast and evolve in pace like the Premier League, like Chris suggested. But again, you're thinking of guys to develop, and Louis van Gaal has that mentality to develop. So that's why I'm thinking that name.
So real quick before we move on to our next topic, what do you guys? What are the chances you think that the U.S. national team has against some of like the topper teams in the world currently, like a Belgium or a France or even in England per se?
Andrew, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I mean, obviously things could change between now and 2022, but I think at the moment they would still be underdogs against the top teams. I think especially when we get into World Cup qualifiers and you have the players playing in important matches together and gelling, I would expect to see them sort of click more together. I have a tough time predicting how far exactly I could see them going, but I think depending on what sort of matchups they get, I think it could be entirely possible for them to do what they did in 2002 and make it to a quarterfinal. That was
going to be my next question. Do you think that they have the chance or the team potentially to make a deep run, which we know that we're not accustomed to out of them?
So, I mean, basically to like your previous question, when you mentioned the U.S. men's national team taking on somebody like Belgium, France, or England, against England will be tough just because England has such a developing game as well. So it's basically like the battle of who can develop faster, in my mind. But when I think of somebody like France who struggles with a quick pace pass and run game like the U.S. men's national team could develop with this core, I think the U.S. actually could give a run for their money to France. When I think of Belgium, we have a strong defense, and if you take out the factor of Kevin De Bruyne, you leave a vulnerable Eden Hazard who now has to rely ultimately on Romelu Lukaku to make that defining moment. And Eden Hazard is not there anymore. Eden Hazard is not the same guy that he was in Chelsea, where he was that hot transfer that everyone wanted. He's dropped form thanks to the ever glorious Zinedine Zidane. And I say that very sarcastically. I hope you all know that. But in regards to how far I can actually see the U.S. men's national team, semifinals is as far as I can see them. Just because they have, again, a strong defensive core, but an even stronger offensive attack. And let's not be forgetful of who we could have in net as well. Manchester City's backup goalie. I'm struggling to remember his name, but I know what he is.
Zach
Steffen, yeah.
Exactly. That dude is incredibly good. Like the few times I've actually seen him in net, he's one that I would personally trust my team to run with. I would personally put him as my starting goalkeeper. No problem at all. Just because he oozes that personality to let me do my thing in the back of the net because I will not let you down.
I just think too that this team is still so relatively young that even if they don't get it done in 2022, when 2026 rolls around and they keep this core together, they could make a big push. You know what I mean? Because like Zach Steffen's 25, Gio Reyna is only 19, Pulisic is like 22, 23, McKinney is like 21. Like these guys will be like in like their primes, not by like they could be in their primes by 2022, but they could really be in their primes by 2026. Exactly. So I think as of 2022, I say that they'd get out of the group stage, and that would be a win for them, mentally. And then you go into 2026, depending on where it is, where they hold it, and stuff like that, and you just kind of go from there. Honestly,
I think that the only thing that I can see failing for the U.S. men's national team would be knowing how to calm their own nerves, because we've noticed a lot with rookies when they have to step up into that world stage. Sometimes their creativity chokes in the back of their mind, just because they struggle to deal with that. Oh my God, I'm in the grandest stage of the world. Like, how do I make a good name for myself? And we've noticed that a lot with many teams. I mean, we could rattle off England in the last World Cup, Spain in the last World Cup. I mean, De Gea absolutely choked in the last World Cup. He was useless. And then you had a Netherlands team as well who was decent. They made a good strong run, and all of a sudden they just faded into darkness. So again, it all depends on who's managing them, how they're being managed, and also how healthy they're keeping themselves too. Because at any point, a serious injury can come into place right now and ruin that dynamic that they could actually have in the World Cup.
Yeah, and let's remember too that the pressure on this group of players is also so high, considering that the last group failed to qualify for the 2018 World Cup. So I'd say let's get to the World Cup, see if they can make it out of the group. And I 100% agree with Chris that 2026 World Cup is the real target. Let's just see what happens in 2022 and then see how things come together for 2026.
I agree. So now moving on to world stages, right? We have the Serie A, La Liga, and then we also have the English Premier League, who continues to brew the perfect storm of talent brewing for the World Cup, right? But before we deal with the World Cup as well, we got to deal about the Champions League this year. So, Chris, give me your thoughts on Serie A and La Liga. Where you think some of the current Champions League teams that are in the next round are going to be able to go, and also in their local leagues?
So I mean, real quick, I mean, we can just kind of go over the draws and stuff like that for the round of 16. So obviously, the round of 16 doesn't kick off for another couple months. So we got Leipzig and Liverpool, Barcelona and PSG, Sevilla and Dortmund, Porto and Juventus, Atletico Madrid and Chelsea, Lazio and Bayern Munich, Atalanta and Real Madrid, and then Gladbach and Man City. So you have 3 teams coming out of Serie A. You have 3 teams coming out of La Liga. You have 3 teams coming out of the English Premier League. You have 4 coming out of La Liga. Excuse me, I completely blanked on Sevilla for a second. And then you have 4 coming out of the Bundesliga, and then you have Porto out of their league. And so it's the Champions League this year is very dominated by the big leagues in the world right now. So for me personally, start with La Liga. You look at Atletico Madrid, Sevilla, Barcelona, and Real Madrid. Atletico Madrid's leading the table for La Liga right now. They're 9-2-1 in La Liga play. They've only given up 5 goals in those games. That's the lowest in the league. It's very good. I was very high on them at the beginning of the year. I'm still high on them now. I think Luis Suarez was the best partner to give for João Felix because I think it's making him grow, and I think that João Felix is taking what Luis Suarez is giving him and it's working. You know what I mean? Like, it's just his wisdom. No, what's the word I'm looking for here? Not wisdom, but like the fact that he's experienced. Thank you. The fact that he's played on these kinds of stages before, it's giving João Felix that experience to take his game to the next level. Also, too, what people don't forget is that Atletico Madrid last year upset Liverpool in the round of 16. Could they do it again with Chelsea, who is another dominant EPL team this year that people are very high on? That's a big question mark for me going in. And you look at teams like Barcelona and Real Madrid, who are sitting in the top 5 in the Liga. You know, both teams have their serious question marks. Real Madrid more so of if Zinedine Zidane can actually take this team to the next level. Diego has been saying all year that he doesn't think so. And then for Barcelona, it's Ronald Koeman. You know, he has so many ideas, but they haven't really come into fruition yet for them. And also, I think they got the toughest draw in the round of 16 getting PSG. I think PSG, especially with Neymar and company, they're going to be ready to go against Barca. For Sevilla's in the middle of the pack. You know, they won the Europa League last year. They've proven that they're a good team in the national level. In La Liga, though, they've struggled a little bit. They're 6-2-4. They've only scored 14 goals in 12 games. It's a bit of a letdown for them. And they got a tough draw with Dortmund, not going to lie, because Haaland is supposed to be back by then. You still got guys like Gino Reyna, Marco Reus, and company. You know, that team is going to be loaded and ready to go, barring an injury. So I think La Liga is the league right now with the multiple teams remaining, I think would be on the lowest of the totem pole. Just because I think Sevilla got a tough draw. I think Barcelona got a tough draw. Atletico Madrid got a tough draw. And then Real Madrid is probably the only favorite out of those 4 matchups from teams from the La Liga.
Yeah. The only thing that you can say about Sevilla and their record currently in La Liga is that they are basically trailing behind 2 games. And those games are important for themselves to then actually value where they truly stand. Atletico has
But if you want to compare them to Atletico, they've played the same amount of games as Atletico.
Absolutely. But, I mean, Atletico also has a force to be reckoned with in what you said. You know, you got Luis Suarez and Joaquin Felix. Something that Sevilla just needs. They need more of an attacking core.
They need guys other than Ocampos to step up for them.
Absolutely.
They haven't had that. They haven't had that since the Europa League.
Absolutely. But
my question for Chris.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, Andrew. Go ahead.
Chris, do you see a team in the round of 16 that you think is not built to sustain both their domestic form and a deep run in the Champions League? Is there one that jumps out to you that you don't think has what it takes this season?
I think it would be Barcelona. And I think for me personally is Ronald Koeman is playing chess. And I think, especially against PSG, you can't play chess because that's what Manchester United did, and that's why they're sitting in the Europa League right now. You can't play chess with PSG, and that's what Koeman's trying to do. He's trying to figure out what formation works. Here's the formation that works for you. Run what you're running. Put Griezmann at the striker. You have Messi and Ousmane Dembele as your wings, and you literally have free fall on whoever you want to play in the center mid, defensive back. Like, you have so much potential there. You know, you don't have Fati. Fati's out. You know, you got guys like Frankie de Jong. You got guys like Arthur. No, excuse me. Pjanic. Arthur's playing in for Juventus now.
Yeah,
but you have talent. You just have to put them in the right position. You can't keep putting Griezmann at your cam because it doesn't work. But if you have another guy that can play the wing, you can easily play Messi at the cam, but you can't play Griezmann there. It's not his strong suit. His strong suit is playing up front.
But if you look at the broader picture of both of those two teams that you just mentioned, Barcelona and Manchester United, if you look at the broader picture of who they're being managed and actually what that national football team looks like, it's exactly the painting picture of inconsistency and not figuring it out in its own. Because you got two Dutches who are basically just trying to create something as of the moment, but not something that is going to be sustainable for the broader future. And that is exactly what you see also out of the Norwegian national team. It's an inconsistent platform that does not have a sustainable future for itself. And that is exactly what these two teams are going to be dealing with. Barcelona, I agree with you. The injuries with Ansu Fati and not having Pjanic in the middle as well is continuing to be a major problem for them. But the biggest problem going forward as well is that Lionel Messi does not want to be in this team anymore. So now you got to have to build a sustainable future for your team, and Ronald Koeman is not the guy for that sustainable future in the picture right now.
I have a theory about Ronald Koeman that until he changes the way that he manages his players on a personal level, he will never have sustained success at one single club.
I agree 100%. I agree.
The stories that came out of his time at Everton are just ridiculous. Like, if I were a player under him, I would feel no desire to do well for him. I mean, if you look at the example of Umar Niasse, he was maybe not the most talented striker in the world, but he had scored a couple important goals for Everton. Ronald Koeman comes in, takes away his locker, takes away his squad number, forces him to eat and train with the U23s. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I would have no desire to play for someone who would treat my teammate like that.
And I mean, this just basically writes along with how Lionel Messi's feeling right now with Barcelona. This is not the guy that I want to paint my future with, because he's not the guy that is actually caring for the team right now. He's just making a name for himself in a big picture. Because Barcelona for itself has painted pictures for somebody like I previously mentioned, like Louis van Gaal. He went on to manage Bayern Munich and Manchester United, two big world-class teams, if you think about it. Then you also have somebody like Valverde, who got the perfect opportunity to grow his career and basically threw it in the trash. So, again, I think Barcelona has a bigger problem than they think they do. And until they have it figured out, they're their own self problem. They're their own worst enemy at the moment.
It's also hard to win with a guy who already has one foot out the door.
Yep.
And that's exactly what Barcelona has right now.
But then you also think about PSG as well for the Champions League. So nothing wrong with PSG classifying onto the next round. I mean, I personally thought that they were going to be out in the first round just simply because of inconsistencies, because of injuries, and because that chemistry wasn't there. Somehow, some way, Thomas Tuchel managed to get the team behind his back and finally move forward. Whatever differences they had in that locker room, they move forward. But then now you're dealing with an injury of a massive component of your team. And that ankle injury is one of those injuries that some players come back to in regular form, but some other players struggle with that. And I don't know if Neymar is going to be that guy to struggle with it or be able to create a version of his own football style of playing into a complete different picture that maybe gets PSG onto that Champions League title run.
Also, do not for nothing. I think no matter who wins out of Barcelona and PSG, they're not going to win the Champions League title at all. because both of them have a star. Barcelona having Messi, PSG having Kylian Mbappe, who already have one foot out the door. Mbappe's already planning his next move and where he wants to go and where he can solidify himself as a legitimate top 5 player in the world today.
I agree with that.
Not taking anything away. He's very good. He's only 22 years old. He's already won a World Cup, and that's where he made his name. But you need to move on from PSG if you want to in order to take that next level. Because, not for nothing, Cristiano Ronaldo started at Man United. When he went to Man United, he slowly became the best player in the world.
Well, he basically did the same kind of career that Bruno Fernandes is going to develop on himself right now. He basically came from an underdeveloped Portuguese league that people still scout in, but don't scout as much, and maybe they should. The only team that actually scouts as much in the Portuguese league right now is maybe Wolves, because actually majority of their lineup is Portuguese, right? But again, you came from an underdeveloped team, took advantage of a good system that worked, which in this case, I'm not sure I can say that about Manchester United, just simply because, again, there's so many inconsistencies just in their mindset of playing the game itself. But then he took it a step further and developed a new style of football that nobody was accustomed to at the time, which is a quick pass, run, and get to the net. That is something that Cristiano Ronaldo has built on himself. I'm not entirely sure that the next generation to come is going to be able to create a new style of football to be played that right along with a legend. Like Kylian Mbappe, I think he's a threat to anybody. You could be the best defensive team in the whole entire world. You still have to deal with the Kylian Mbappe factor. But is there a form of playing that he's doing right now that is going to develop for generations to come? And I'm not sure that there is one.
I think once he leaves PSG, I think that's when he slowly develops that.
I agree. Now, before we move on to the next subject, what do we think about the rumor circulating that Lionel Messi could actually be PSG bound, considering that
won't happen.
Okay.
Yeah, you can shut that down right away. That won't happen.
Andrew,
There's not a chance that he would go from playing in one of the most prestigious leagues in all of the world to going to play in League One. No, not a chance.
Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the problem, if you're a star player at PSG, the only real way to measure your success would be to win the Champions League. Mm-hmm. And that's putting a lot of eggs into one basket. Like PSG should win Ligue 1 every single year, pretty much, with the talent they have. So if you're not succeeding in the Champions League at PSG, you're kind of coming up short of your goals. I think this rumor has been thrown around a ton, but I think the move that makes the most sense would probably be reuniting with Pep at Man City. It seems that Messi had a much better relationship with Pep than he has had since with some other of the Barcelona head coaches.
Sure.
And I think Manchester City have kind of been disappointing this season. So Pep might be looking for that move to put them back over the top and contending for league titles again.
I think the ultimate move for Lionel Messi right now is to go and join somebody like Bayern Munich or Borussia Dortmund, just simply because that German league continues to be a developing force. And again, you need somebody to kind of create a whole new game in that league, and that is somebody like Lionel Messi, personally.
Diego, I want to apologize to you because I'm so sorry that we're recording right now. Have you seen the score of the Man United game?
No.
It's 2-0 in the first 5 minutes.
Who's winning?
Man United.
Oh, my God.
Scott McTominay has 2 goals in the second and the third minute.
Scottish Messi right there.
Jesus. Who hired Braveheart? Oh, my God.
Dude, I legit was, going because I wanted to, check, the EPL standings again, just to get, a refresher. And all of a sudden, I had the scores up, and literally it just 2-0 in the first 5 minutes. I was like,
he embraces Inner Wallace.
Diego, oh, my God. No, yeah, so that's the thing. So do we want to talk EPL? Do we want to talk Serie A teams in the Champions League? What do you want to do?
I think we talked Serie A as well because we haven't covered as much as extensively as we covered the EPL. And there's actually a lot brewing again in the Serie A. I mean, you got somebody like AC Milan back in the picture of dominating the Serie A. You got Inter Milan, who still actually has a chance, and that is kind of hard to understand why. And then you
Listen,
got
I
a
can
powerful
tell you,
Juventus following up as well.
I can tell you all you need to know about Inter Milan. One of the best teams in Serie A. When it comes to the European level, they just don't have it. They don't have it whatsoever. They just don't have it. They haven't had it the last couple of years. Plain
But
simple.
then, how do you explain Roma's current performance in Napoli as well? I thought Napoli was going to be a washout. And then you got Lazio and Atalanta, who are onto the next round of the Champions League, but struggling hardcore with their own internal league. How do you explain that?
Napoli, dude. Napoli's going to be good as long as they have Koulibaly. If they have Koulibaly, they're going to be fine. And that's the big thing. If they have Koulibaly, they're going to be fine moving forward. They have decent talent around them. Obviously, Ospina is their goaltender. He's played very well this year for them. But they have like young talent like Insigne, Politano, and company. So they're like an up and coming team. They're missing a piece maybe in order to be a legitimate threat in this area. But other than that, I mean, they're right. Like I expect them in like the 5 to 8 range right now through 12 games. So they're kind of where I expected them to be. For the Champions League, though, which one of the – I think we can all agree that Lazio got the worst draw out of the 3 teams that are left. Getting Bayern Munich. Juventus gets Porto. That's easy. Cristiano Ronaldo is just going to bully him. And then Atalanta and Real Madrid could go either way. Depends on what Real Madrid team shows up. So,
well, I gotta press the brake real hard on this one because back when we started talking about Champions League, right? We all thought, oh, Shakhtar Donetsk, forget about them against Real Madrid. Real Madrid
I
will
agree,
dominate
100%.
them. And then we thought the same thing about Gladbach when they faced Real Madrid. We're like, oh, Real Madrid's probably going to dominate them. All of a sudden, that underdog rode along. So I personally can't say that Porto and Juventus won't be a close matchup just because Porto has been kind of riding along against some of these hard teams. Does Juventus have the upper edge with Cristiano Ronaldo? Absolutely. That's undebatable. But again, it's always been that underdog story so far in this Champions League. And I'm having difficulty saying that Juventus will dominate Porto.
Listen. As a fan of Juventus and as a guy who literally watched them lose to Lyon a year ago, I understand completely. But that was with that poo bag of a coach that we have. Now we have Andrea Pirlo, who is ready to play. And trust me, they're going to be fine. I think if you want to talk underdog story, and I told you this at the beginning of the Champions League, was Gladbach. I think of them over Man City is going to be a lot closer than people think. But we're on Serie A right now. To me, I think Juventus comes out easily. Atalanta is like a toss-up, and I think Lazio is going to get knocked out by Bayern because Bayern's just a world-class team right now.
They are.
But when you go to Serie A, you look at the teams that are playing in the Europa League for them. AC Milan and Roma. Both are in the top 4 in Serie A right now. AC Milan has turned the clock because they've brought Zlatan Ibrahimovic, who has literally scored in every single game this year, I'm pretty sure. Which is wild because he is on his last legs and he is keeping them afloat. He is helping them so well. But also, too, you
went to Italy to get to the grapevines and drink that wine because that guy is aging finer than wine. He's almost like 40 years old and playing better than some of these young guys. Like you said, he scored every fucking game. I feel
like he's scored every game he's played in. Every game he's played in, I feel like he's scored. Let me just start off by saying that. So why am I drawing a blank on him right now?
Let's also not forget though that again this is one of Zinedine Zidane's fault as well.
Zlatan 39 years old.
So Zinedine Zidane let go of Theo Hernandez, and Theo Hernandez is basically another backbone to AC Milan. Then you got Diogo Dalot, who's playing a great defensive game for them. Again, gotta love Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and his idiotic moves. But then you also actually have a very solid goaltender in Gianluigi Donnarumma. Like that guy,
Not for nothing.
that guy
He's
could actually be the next.
21. He's 21. He's going to be one of the best Italian goalies that we've seen, besides Gianluigi Buffon.
I personally think that in maybe even Qatar 2022, that guy actually comes out to be the best goalie of the world.
Wouldn't be surprised. Also, for Zoltan's numbers, he's played 6 games in Serie A. He's got 10 goals.
I love that you call him Saltar because he actually
Zoltan. That's what I said. Zoltan.
Well, actually, as a Manchester United fan, and because he was a fellow Manchester United player, it's actually Zlatan.
You know, it's the way the Americans say it. Cut it out. Leave me alone.
But he does act like a Saltar because that guy is reigning over the Serie A right now. He's just. I actually want to see a game between Cristiano Ronaldo and Juventus, and I mean, and him.
Just get ready. It's gonna happen. But Zoltan needs to be healthy first. That's the big issue.
Yeah.
Real quick. So we touched upon Serie A. I say real quick, we just do the EPL draw in the Champions League, and then we can go carry on with our days.
Well, we gotta finish off with FIFA's award as well.
Oh, again, yes. So let's do EPL real quick. So Chelsea's getting Atletico, Liverpool's getting RB Leipzig, and where are you? Man City's getting Gladbach. Andrew, real quick, who do you think got the? Well, obviously we think Chelsea got the worst draw with Atletico. Who do you think got the best draw out of those 3?
I would say Liverpool, not because Leipzig is a bad team, but just because Liverpool is just about unstoppable at this point in time. I think Chelsea Atletico Madrid was one of the matchups that I was hoping would happen because I think it will be a really interesting matchup of contrasting styles. And I think, like you said, Gladbach might give Man City a little bit more than people are expecting. I think they've been a very solid defensive team throughout the Champions League, and they've showed good offensive ability too. And as we know from the EPL, Man City isn't quite firing on all cylinders right now. So I would expect.
But I can agree with you there. But they've looked good in the Champions League. I know they played in probably one of the easier groups, but I do think Gladbach's going to give them a hard time. But I do think we're going to see the best form of Man City. But for me personally, I just think Chelsea, you have so much high hopes. Can you carry it on to Atletico? Atletico, again, last year beat Liverpool, who was very highly thought of to repeat as champions of the Champions League. And Atletico Madrid said, not a chance. We're here. It's our time. And they got better. They literally have gotten better. So it's just for me, I worry about Chelsea. I think I agree with you. I think Liverpool did get the better end of the deal there. But I don't count on Leipzig just because we've seen what they've done so far in the group of death. Yeah. So it's a toss-up.
With all due respect to Frank Lampard, if you're picking between Frank Lampard and Diego Simeone to make up a game plan to win you one game, you got to take Diego Simeone every day of the week in that matchup.
Oh, so that literally touches upon the Champions League. Obviously, when it comes closer, we'll have predictions on who we think will move on, but it's still a ways away.
I actually got to agree with Andrew on one quick thing on Liverpool. We've all been talking about the injuries that they've been dealing with, but as Jose Mourinho put it, Liverpool's biggest injury and only concern right now is Virgil van Dijk. Because besides that, they have a locker room full of talent, and they should stop with the excuses. And so every time that they get dominated, and Jurgen Klopp comes out and says, we got injuries, that argument is completely out the window because that just showed to be exactly a lame excuse, especially when you just dominated Crystal Palace 7-0. 7-0. That is such a dominating force. And never mind the fact that Asian kid that Jurgen Klopp is taking on right now.
Takumi
Minamino, yeah.
Minamino. However you pronounce it.
That kid is soon to be a world star class. if it continues at the pace that he's at. He's got to be the next Ansu Fati to Liverpool. There is no question on that.
He's already 25 too, so like he's got a little.
I mean,
bit of a.
age is against him, but it's not to say that
I do agree. No, I agree with you though. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying the age and comparing him to Ansu Fati, who's like legit 17, 18 years old.
Yeah,
you can't really do that.
Well, yeah, I agree.
But no, all right. So let's move on to the FIFA, the best awards of 2020.
Did you all see the award actually happen live? Because Cristiano Ronaldo was by far in his most miserable form I've ever seen him be.
He just didn't want to be there. I don't blame him. He didn't want to be there.
The dude was crossing his eyes like a girl who doesn't want to be in a date and just forced to be in a date. That was exactly Cristiano Ronaldo's behavior. As soon as Lewandowski was awarded the FIFA's best player of the year, Cristiano Ronaldo just embraced and informed himself of just like, yeah, I don't want to be here. Fuck it.
He didn't want to be there, dude, especially because he didn't win the award. That's what pissed him off. He didn't win the award.
Well, Lionel Messi is more like that yes boy. He's just sitting there with his arms crossed like,
Yep. Well, listen, not for nothing, but the best FIFA men's player 100% should have went to Lewandowski. He legitimately killed it the entire year.
Yeah,
Held Bayern Munich win the Champions League title. They won like 5 to 7 trophies this year. Like you got to ride with him.
Yeah, but I think
same with Manuel Neuer as the best goalkeeper.
Yeah, but I think the argument is still up and alive when it comes to the best coach in the world right now, because even though I don't mind Jurgen Klopp getting the title again and actually being the first coach in the world to win it back to back, but again, you got two actual coaches that could have also won that title, and rightfully so. You got Marcelo
Flick should have won it.
So for me, Flick could have and should have won it, but I actually would have liked for Marcelo Bielsa to win it, simply because of the unbelievable story that he basically embraced out of Leeds United to bring up onto the Premier League, and still continuing to be that pestering team that whenever they face the top five, it's an issue for them. For any top five team in the Premier League right now, Leeds United is a big issue. And it's undeniably one of the things that Marcelo Bielsa should have won. I agree with Hans Flick maybe winning that title as well, especially because, he's taking on Bayern Munich, and Bayern Munich continues to be a force to be reckoned with. But
well, they solidified themselves as legit the best team in the world.
They did. Yeah. But what's to say that whoever had taken that job, Bayern Munich would have still be a force to be reckoned with?
You never know.
Because Bayern Munich just has that.
There's a lot of things, a lot of what ifs. But real quick, what did you think of their World 11? So Alisson, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Sergio Ramos, Virgil van Dijk, Alphonso Davies, Kevin De Bruyne, Thiago, Joshua Kimmich, Lionel Messi, Lewandowski, and Cristiano Ronaldo. Do you think they missed anybody? Do you think they do you think that there's somebody on there that definitely shouldn't be on there? Like what talking
there? I don't know. I mean, I don't hate on any of the guys that are there because they are respectfully good players. But I think that the best starting 11 could be argued at this point because there's so much developing talent at the time being that 11 formation is just not fair to everyone else in the world.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That's my argument.
Quick shout out to Tobin Heath and Megan Rapinoe, who made the women's World 11, the two Americans. And then also as an MLS fan, I'm excited that Alphonso Davies made that team because that's pretty cool to see someone who came up in the MLS go on to such high heights.
He's going to be so good. Alphonso Davies is going to be so good. I can't wait to see him progress.
So I don't know if you guys saw earlier in the week when I basically tagged the whole entire crew to kind of give me their starting 11 for FIFA, what they would think would be the best starting 11. Again, That's why I said it could easily just be argued.
Mhm.
Because for goalkeepers, for example, like, yeah, Manuel Neuer has been solid. Like, yeah, he's a solid goalkeeper.
Yeah.
But who's to argue that John Oblak isn't? Or that Gianluigi Donnarumma isn't? Or that even the U.S. Goalkeeper that I think could be the next goalkeeper.
Zach Steffen.
Yeah, Zach Steffen couldn't be it. And then again, you got for center backs, who's to say that David Alaba shouldn't be in there instead of Sergio Ramos? Sergio Ramos has always been a solid center back, but so is David Alaba. And he's
Yeah,
a developing player.
Sergio Ramos looked fantastic. I think they were just going off the year's body of work. But again, it's all, you can go either way with it.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, no. I mean, I think that basically covers what we wanted to talk about today.
That basically does it. I agree.
Andrew, final thought. Do you have a final thought from the past week that you want to just throw out real quick?
My final thought is actually looking ahead. One of the most exciting games that has come across my radar for a while is the Carabao Cup quarterfinal, Everton versus Man United. We were talking about this before we started recording, and we all agree that it's a more important game for Everton than United. Obviously, Everton haven't won a major trophy since 1995. So I think if you look at the other teams who are left in the Carabao Cup, there's a couple big dogs. Man City and Tottenham, I think, are both left. But outside of those two, there's a real opportunity for Everton to get to a final, which I think would be a huge step forward under Carlo Ancelotti. So I'm really excited to see how that game plays out.
I think for me, this kind of just happened while we were recording, but Scott McTominay just became the first player to score a brace inside of the first 3 minutes of a Premier League match. Yep. So that's wild, and it's also funny.
Back-to-back minutes in the second and in the third minute. That is incredible.
It's also funny that Scott McTominay has now scored more goals in under 2 minutes than Arsenal has scored in 2 months. Or the fact that McTominay scored more Premier League goals in 2 minutes than Kai Havertz and Christian Pulisic have combined all year.
So my final thought, actually, and I know I'm probably going to be lynched for saying this, but we're all very high on Kai Havertz being the best signing in the Premier League. And I think he himself has put that pressure so hard on himself that he's kind of starting to lean towards becoming a bust. He has excellent performances 1 week and complete trash performances for 2 or 3 weeks to follow. It's like,
he's still so young, though.
I agree. But look at the team that he's working with as well, though. That is a solid team with enough experience, enough youth. Personally, to me, Chelsea should be the number one team right now in the Premier League, and they're not.
They just have to get the chemistry together.
Yeah,
that's my thing. I think they haven't played together long enough. I think once they do, boy, watch out, because if this team stays afoot, they're going to be moving.
Well, I mean, the same exact thing could be said about Alex Telles and Bruno Fernandes. They played against each other in the Portuguese league, and now they're in one team together. And when they play together, it's kind of hard to read them because they have their own game that they develop, and it causes havoc for that defense that they're dealing with. I think for Chelsea, it's more of a strong leadership role to continue to play and really get these guys into form. That's where I leave it at with Chelsea. But anyways, that does it for episode 16. Continue to follow us on Twitter at Podcast Card. On Twitter, continue to follow us on Spotify. You can find us there just by searching Yellow Card Podcast. We're right there. We also just dropped a new logo for the Yellow Card Podcast. So
yeah, had to get Andrew in it finally.
Hey, absolutely. Give us a thumbs up.
That graphics, the guy stinks. We should fire him. We should fire him immediately. It took him so long to do that.
It took him forever. It's insane. I don't know who that guy is, but just some guy that we picked up out of Methadone Mile in Massachusetts. So,
dude, end the episode. End it. Cut it out. I don't want to hear any more of this.
But anyways, continue to check out the content that Chris Jones continues to put out on the Chasers podcast as well, and on a weekly basis with Couch Guys Sports. Continue to check out the content from Andrew on Tuesdays and Saturdays on CouchGuysSports.com. My content as well, Tuesdays and Saturdays. And if you're not following the Twitch channel on Couch Guys Sports, I don't know what you're doing, but get familiar immediately because it's continuing to develop and it's continuing to grow. So continue to follow us. And again, thank you so much for listening to episode 16. Thank you and see you guys next week.